everyone. Welcome to another Coffee and Contemplation brought to you by Spotlight Recovery. It is April 19th. We've got a good reflection today, and I already forgot the name of it because I'm a professional. So, just going to bring it up and remind myself. Oh yeah, this one didn't have a title. Okay, it's not on me. Either way, let's get into it today. In the process of defining myself, I have a tendency to set up rules and boundaries and then forget that rules are made to be broken, as are boundaries to be expanded and crossed. By Kathleen Casey Thiessen. Recovery has given us the freedom to address life honestly, with forethought and a certainty about the rightness of our actions. We need to be mindful that what is right today may not be right tomorrow or thereafter. As we move through our experiences, we are changed, and then we look with a new perspective on old conditions. Our new perspective hones our value systems, and yesterday's rules and boundaries no longer fit today's situations. Our growth as women is an unending process. What we confront today with assurance we prepared for yesterday, and tomorrow will be eased by our definition of today. The program has gifted us with clarity. Clarity about ourselves, clarity regarding others, and clarity on how to continue our growth. My value system awaits finer definition, and every experience today presents me with an opportunity for that definition. This reflection is from Each Day a New Beginning, which is a daily meditations book for women. I forgot to add that part there, my apologies. But yeah, so there's got some good points in here. I just like how it talks about like setting up our own rules and boundaries, and then as we progress, like it says in this quote here, rules and boundaries, and then forget that rules are made to be broken and boundaries to be expanded and crossed. So what I really like about this and just this theme here, that was it, and I talked about and entitled it defining our value system. It's just that it takes this approach that we have an addiction of typically like being rule breakers, crossing boundaries, wanting things to go our way. But then it's like taking that same mentality, but shifting the perspective on it and then taking this approach in a healthier light. And that's something that I like about it. Just on like setting rules for ourselves based on our values, boundaries based on our values and where we are in our recovery and in what stage in our life. And then understanding that those don't have to be so rigid and locked into place. Like they're there to keep us safe, yes, which is very important. And for a bunch of us, like this is a new or like different kind of concept in recovery. Like it's new in a bit of a different light. But like in recovery, we shouldn't be stagnant. So we're always growing and developing. So then along with that, our boundaries and these rules, things like this can also then grow and develop along with us. So it was just that perspective shift that I really liked, which is why I chose this one today. But also with it, which I think is important, is that there's a bit of a fine line here with this one too. It's one of those things where it's like, if I'm not in fit spiritual condition, if I don't have other people in my support system helping call me out on my stuff, or if I'm not bouncing these things off of other people, then that's where this behavior can then shift from this more recovery-oriented view and look on like breaking our own rules, crossing our own boundaries in a healthy way that shows more progress and that we've changed and developed, as opposed to now back in more addiction thinking where we're changing them because we're getting lazy, feeling lower senses of self-worth, so who cares, and none of this really matters, I don't matter anyway. Like it, I don't know, for me at least, I resonate with that being a bit of a finer line. It's not such a huge opposite approach like some other things are in recovery that we talk about. This is a little bit more of a tighter perspective shift. So I wanted to talk about it, and I just wanted to mention that as well. So please, in the comments, let me know what you think about that. Are they really, really separate for you? Are they a little bit closer? What kind of helps you determine the difference between the two, and where's that line for you? I'd just love to hear them, and it could be helpful for other folks. So please throw those down in the comments. But anyways, so let's just go through this a little bit more. I'm just reading the first paragraph here again. It's just the way that this is written is really, I think it's very well written. I really like the language used in it. Recovery has given us the freedom to address life honestly, with forethought and a certainty about the rightness of our actions. We need be mindful that what is right today may not be right tomorrow or thereafter. So I like that mentality too, and that's a good reminder for me, because typically when I'll learn a lesson, when I'll set up a boundary or a rule, something like that, because of all my trauma history, my brain will want to make those very ironclad. It'll want to set those in stone very much. It's just this old defense mechanism. It's an old thing that keeps me safe, right? I learn a thing, cool, okay, so now I've learned from whatever situation, so now I know how to not get hurt in that situation again, or how to protect myself in that situation again. And then I will set up rules based on that of what I will and won't do, and then I'll set up boundaries for other people who may now be in this situation of what they can and cannot cross, all with the purpose of just keeping myself safe and protected. So again, humans do this. People with trauma brains, addict brains, we will take this to a farther degree. And because we have this literal change in our brain, we will be really rock hard on these new systems that we're going to put in place. And like, it's okay. It's important not to beat yourself up over it and get really hard about it and upset or whatever it may be. But just this mentality of understanding that what is right today may not be right tomorrow or thereafter is just a good reminder. It's just kind of like a caveat to put in the back of this when you go through this process, and especially after. It's like, okay, I've set these rules for myself. I've set these boundaries with other people. Great. That's awesome. They don't have to apply forever. You know, that won't have to be the case for always. But for now, that works for you. Excellent. And then just keep an open mind. I think that's kind of what it's really getting down to. At least that's the messaging that I'm getting from this, that I really like, and that's a good reminder for me. So that's what pops out with that. And it just further elaborates on it, which I like. As we move through our experiences, we are changed. And then we look with a new perspective on old conditions. Our new perspective hones our value systems, and yesterday's rules and boundaries no longer fit today's situations. This is really good stuff. For me, this feels a little bit like a longer term recovery reflection and points. You know, when I was early in recovery, everything was just so keep myself safe, to keep myself sober, and then learn how to live a life sober, because everything was so overwhelming and scary and emotional. You're just like a raw nerve 24/7, you know? So I was so hell-bent on just setting all these boundaries and rules in place to keep myself as safe as possible at all times, because I didn't want to use, I didn't want to relapse, I didn't want to get hurt again, re-traumatized. You know, you go through the list. Whatever a past experience, I didn't want to go through any of it again. So throw up all these super hard lines everywhere. Makes total sense. Then as years went by and I stayed sober, went through my steps, just developed a whole new life and way of living in recovery, and a whole program for myself and everything. Oh, come on. No. After doing that, here we go. Got it. I was able to then be looking back at these things safely and question them, essentially. Be able to look back and question these rules, these boundaries and everything, because I had grown and I had changed. My life had changed as well. You know, this whole thing, it is a process. That's why I think that a part of why that slogan, progress not perfection, exists, because we're always progressing and growing through this. Like, from my experience and from working with clients, just stagnation doesn't seem to serve us well. Like, we can't really like, cool, I'm just going to get to this point and then I'm good. I'm going to recover up to X line and then I'm fine. That's enough for me. I just, I haven't seen it work out for folks long term. Like it just, I'm not going to go with the extreme of if it's not recovery, it's an addiction. Like it's not just that black and white, but at least I think, but sitting in that stagnation, it then just allows space for our addict brain to creep back in, right? Because you got to remember, this thing is never going anywhere. It's there as long as we are. It is unbelievably patient. I'm sure, or you may have heard that like unofficial slogan of your addict is out in the parking lot doing push-ups waiting for you. I really like that one. I like the visual. But so that's been my experience too. And so stagnation just allows room for it to come back in, as opposed to if we are constantly trying to work on progress and growth, both in recovery and in ourselves, then there's less room and space for that, you know? So that's another way, funny enough, that also helps keep us safe, let alone just you get more out of life, right? You get more of life, you get more experiences, more of what life has to offer. You're showing up for it. Why would you not, right? So anyway, there's just my 2 cents on that. And so then, yeah, the second paragraph, our growth as women is an unending process. Women, people, I think, whichever. What we confront today with assurance, we prepared for yesterday. Oh yeah, these mentions are good too. A little bit of yesterday, today, and tomorrow thrown in here. It's really, really good. And tomorrow will be eased by our definition of today. The program has gifted us with clarity. Clarity about ourselves, clarity regarding others, and clarity on how to continue our growth. Yeah, I think that's honestly pretty self-explanatory. I just like the language that they use, describing this situation and this perspective on how to live in today. My value system awaits finer definition, and every experience today presents me with an opportunity for that definition. It's so cool. So I can really connect and resonate with this when I am in like a really good spiritual place, when my head's really in a good spot and I'm just able to like have the guts essentially to look at and question and challenge these things. But this is just kind of, for me, I'm just hearing it as like looking at all these rules and boundaries as being a little more open to interpretation. They're not 100% anymore. They're 99%, let's say, or even less, some smaller percentage. It's just being open to any experience today presents me with an opportunity to further define my value system, which I think is really great. And I really like that. That's something I really strive to do daily. I definitely can't daily. But I would like to have that mentality every day. And that's something I'm really wanting to work towards. Just to also help myself loosen up over that mentality of, like I said, just being so rigid with my rules and boundaries and all of that stuff. Like, in values too. Values can change as you grow and as you learn more, right? As we just progress generally, you know? Yeah, I think that's all. I think that's it. I like these different perspectives and things they talk about. I think it really, it helps teach us how to have a more of an open mind, which I really appreciate. But like I said, I do feel that this definitely, like, I resonate with this a lot more being somebody who's in longer term recovery, as opposed to this being like early recovery days. And then last was just to be mindful of how I feel there can be that finer line on the definition between breaking all the rules and crossing all the boundaries, coming from an addict, like unhealthy, more destructive space, and then, or as opposed to then crossing over and looking at breaking rules and boundaries in the sense of that we have now grown and progressed beyond what they were before. So, and I think one last thing too, I think there's the difference between looking at all that rule and boundary breaking, typically more with others, and then this is a lot more self-focused. So those rules and boundaries with ourselves. Or maybe not. That'll open up another can of worms. We're going to finish this up for today. But let me know your thoughts. Put down in the comments what stands out for you in this reflection. What did you like, not like? What stands out? How do you resonate with this? Would love to hear those shares, so please throw them down in there. The rest of the YouTube things will help us too. Subscribe, liking, and sharing if you're enjoying this video. It'll just help us carry that message more, and just so more folks can hear it. I do recovery coaching with people. So if you're liking some of the things I've talked about today, but just feel like you don't know how to incorporate them into your life, then please reach out to me. My contact's in the description. I'd be happy to reach out and see if there's a way that I can help coach you through this in your recovery. And in that description are other ways that Spotlight Recovery can support you. We've got recovery coaching videos and podcast, blog, and newsletter. They're all connected there on our website. They're all down in there. Check it out. And then last are ways that you can support Spotlight Recovery. Please consider donating, becoming a member, getting yourself some branded merch. We've got some great stuff down in there. Good, comfortable clothes. But anyways, yeah, check it all out. We'd really appreciate it. So either way, thank you for joining us today and checking out the reflection. I hope you enjoyed it. Wishing you a blessed 24 in your recovery. And maybe challenge those rules and boundaries you set for yourself a little bit. See where you're at today in your progress. You may be surprised. And we'll see you tomorrow.